Our speaker hopes to educate, encourage, and inspire us. Today, we welcome a Spark who is an expressive arts therapist and life coach with over 25 years of skill and experience in private practice. She provides psychotherapy and life coaching to her clients. As a healer, private practitioner, and group leader, she employs her highly intuitive, empathetic, and creative skills. She creates a safe space from which to guide clients, group members, listeners, and readers as they explore, learn, grow, and heal. In her work, she specializes in parenting and co-parenting, personal development and empowerment, relationships, transitions, and wellness. Parenting for Life, her first book, received the internationally prestigious Mom's Choice Award, which is in 50 countries, and was endorsed by Deepak Chopra. Dr. Chopra says, "If you are interested in conscious parenting, this book is an excellent guide. Powerful and practical, Parenting for Life offers parents with children of all ages tools to strengthen and heal their relationships." And we have books here today, and our speaker Spark will be doing a book signing immediately following celebration. So please give a big circle welcome to Nina Sidell.
So I have a question for you, and that is, how important is it to have a voice? How many people here have ever felt silenced in your life? Keep your hands up just for a second, please. Okay, so that's probably almost 100% of you. And the messages that we receive growing up in our families and what we get in our classrooms and with our teachers and our peers, in our job environments, in our relationships, and even in society as a whole, doesn't always give us permission to honor, express, and acknowledge who we are in all ways. So the question is, what stops you from expressing your voice? What messages did you get from home and in your life growing up, and even today in the world, that allow you to feel silenced? Just take a moment and think about that. So I have an activity that I do sometimes with clients, and we're going to give it a try right now. And I want you to just take a moment, please, and think about one particular relationship, individual, environment in your life that you actually have felt thwarted, somehow silenced, that there's an aspect of your being that you don't feel some permission to express. That can be outer focused, or it can be propelled from within. So as a clinician, I would say that would be internalizing those messages. So think for a moment about a person or situation that has allowed you to feel stifled in your voice. Just take a moment. We're going to do an exercise. And when you're ready, I would like everyone to kindly stand up. Please. Thank you. So the expression that I use is this: stand up tall inside yourself. For me, I grow a couple inches, so that's an asset for me. I want you to think about that person or that experience, past or present, and hold it in your consciousness for just a moment, and repeat to yourself internally, I stand up tall inside myself. Despite the message, despite the feeling silenced, tell yourself that message right now. Take some breaths. Know that it might not feel natural and comfortable initially, and that's okay. Especially when we deal with difficult people and situations. I want you to notice any shifting that you may have physically, psychologically, emotionally, when you develop that sense of knowing that you have the right to stand up tall and proud within. I see changes in posture here. Breathe into this. Allow this to become a part of you and potentially a part of any affirmation that you use in your day-to-day life. After all, people don't know what we're thinking, right? And what we're feeling. So you are entitled to honor yourself, honor your voice, express all that you are, all aspects of who you are. And we are fortunate to live in a society where more people with different lifestyles are being accepted. And they're leading the way for us to stand up for who we are, in my belief. It's interesting that most everyone's eyes are closed. I want you to experiment with something. If you could kindly make eye contact with at least one person right now, please do that. This is going to ground this in your experience. It will ground it in the reality of when you relate to others, you have the entitlement to stand up tall, no matter what is happening. It will help you dispel fear, lack of confidence, concerns that you're not being a good girl or a good boy, any confusion or doubt that you may carry with you that maybe holds you back. And now face forward again kindly. And let's just take a nice, deep, cleansing breath. And a yoga breath is really a great way to really clean this out. And then we're going to do an affirmation together. So deep breath in through your nose. Hold this statement inside. And we're going to count it into 5. I stand tall inside myself. Let's hold it for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And on your out breath, release fear and doubt around that statement. Let's do it one more time. Big breath in, hold it in. And now release any fear and doubt, any negative messages that you may have internalized, or any places in your life that you don't feel the permission to do that. So now repeat after me. I stand tall inside myself. I stand tall inside myself. I stand in my truth and courage. I stand in my truth and courage. I honor myself as I continue to grow. I honor myself as I continue to grow. Notice any shifting that's going on in you. Internal, external. Notice how you feel being around other people. And have a seat. Thank you. Sometimes the small messages that we remind ourselves, kind of like the affirmations that we write or we're guided by others to write and to memorize, can have a very important impact. And I talk to my clients about how people don't know what's going on with you internally. I can't tell if someone's afraid unless they express it to me. We can't tell how someone feels about themselves, what their self-esteem level is like, whether they take risks or they hide or they deny aspects. But you know, we all know for ourselves. So this is a simple exercise that I advocate you doing often. Also, the act of changing your posturing will give you a cue and a clue when you're not conscious of those unconscious beliefs, so that you can stand up tall physically and you'll remember this message. So I'm going to share a little bit with you about some messages that I got growing up. And here we go. And if you can relate, call it out. And then I will ask you to call out some messages that you received. So a message that I remember hearing constantly was to be a good girl. Anybody else got that message growing up?
I did.
Oh, yeah.
So did he. So did he. Hey, you guys have that in common. All right, so anybody else got, like, be a good girl, be a good boy?
Oh, little ladies don't do that.
Ugh, okay. Okay, all right. So, and that can be confusing to a child because what does that mean? You know, there's mixed messages in that kind of global statement because sometimes we need to be strong and sometimes we have feelings that aren't good feelings. So it's a confusing thing for a child, even though I honored my parents with that. I also heard, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say it. Anybody hear that? Okay, all right, so that's more of a common ground comment. I also heard a message that was kind of a parallel, kind of a polar opposite, which is you can do it. Anybody hear that? You could do anything you put your mind to? Okay, and if you're hearing that, be a good girl or boy and don't speak up unless you have something nice to say, and you can do it, is kind of contradictory, isn't it? A little bit? I used to sing all the time, and I would sing, particularly, I remember at the top of my lungs, Cher and Barbra Streisand songs, and it bellowed through the house. I was like singing my lungs out. So I remember hearing many times, you have a beautiful voice, be quiet. I'm like, what? I have a beautiful voice, but now I have to stop singing it? Okay. So that was a mixed message, kind of positive, kind of negative. And another message that I got, anybody else get a message like that? That you're something like that? What was your message?
You're really sweet till you open your mouth.
Oh, wow. That's confusing. That's a little passive aggressive too. Anybody else want to share? Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that. Anyone else?
Yeah, like, why don't you stand up for yourself? Why don't you say something for yourself? But then if I would, it would be like, I'm your mother, don't talk to me like that.
Oh, wow. So you were supposed to honor that away from her, not with her. She was threatened by that, that's why. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I used to run around singing all the time. I still do, but I was told that I could kill dead people with my singing.
Wow, that's an interesting
No,
message.
that deterred me,
Right. Well, at least they didn't say you could kill living people. You know, it's a little bit better. Anyone else want to share a message that they received? And it could be current. Yes.
My mom would always say that from the time I can remember is do it before you're told. And it just confused me because if you don't tell me, how am I supposed to know?
Did she think you were psychic?
Well, I'll tell you what, even though it was confusing and a little bit negative to me growing up, I created a great positive from it in that I do things before I'm told now. You know, I'm really very much a planner and I do things before I'm told.
So the expectation is that you already know what to do, and she was trying to encourage you to do that. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? So I have a funny one. I was always told to tell the truth, be honest. And I'm not kidding. To this day, I cannot lie. I am the worst liar. There's a card game that I used to play with my kids, lie or something, and I would crack up. I would always give a sign. And I'm a Jew that thinks I'm going to go to hell if I lie now. So, like, I can't lie. It's not in me. So, anybody feel that kind of experience, that you feel like there's something you want to say, but yet it goes against the grain even though you realize something else?
I don't say anything because I'm a really bad liar. Like, I really couldn't lie to save my life. I mean, you would know immediately.
Me too. But I bet you if you had to save your life, you would try really hard.
Yeah, well, they always tell me, well, you know, it's better to tell the truth than it is to lie because the trouble that you're going to get into for telling the truth is going to be much less than if you lie about it. So
Right.
that was kind
And
of
it's also a little confusing, even though it's an important thing to be honest and truthful. Sometimes we don't know what our truth is. And sometimes we're around others that don't tell the truth.
Oh, that's true.
And that's kind of a strange mirror. Anybody else have anything they want to share? Okay, thank you. So, imagine a world in which every child feels safe enough to be themselves, to express themselves in any way that they need to, that the aspects of who they are isn't questioned, and that the adult parents raising them can find what ails their inner child, so that when they're raising and relating to their children, there's harmony in the home. Imagine what would the world, the collective world, be like if we start with harmony and peace at home. Imagine the possibilities. For me, that's a new paradigm that I want to shine a light on, that my book talks about, so that there is a trickle effect with what happens within each small sect of society, starting with each person, each couple, each family, each town, each community, each state, city, state, country, and let's keep moving it outward like ripples in a pond. So I will share with you a little bit about me. So when I was a child, I was very, very shy. One might say an introvert. And I used to fly under the radar and kind of get away with it a little bit. I was very sensitive and very observant and very psychic and artistic. And my family was louder than me. They were more dramatic than me. I remember kind of flamboyance in my family. Even Halloween, we would all dress up as the Addams Family or the Wizard of Oz. We even had a dog, Toto, so it worked out really well. And I remember as a young child, I'm trying to remember how old I was. It was somewhere early elementary school. At the end of the school day, I would come home from the school bus, and my mother would open the door with another hair color. I mean, flamboyant, right? Redhead, blonde, brunette. And I remember thinking, where is my mommy? And it was her, but it was another aspect of her that she was good at expressing, and everyone else in my family was good at expressing who they were. And over time, I noticed, as shy as I was and uncomfortable as I was, hearing my own voice literally, because I don't feel that it was advocated for me to speak up for myself and my family. You're nodding your head. So I found that I had many aspects to myself, and in time, I delighted in discovering them. So I found academically, as I got older in school, I was on the honor roll. I just found my papers recently in high school, a couple of years in a row. And in graduate school, you couldn't shut me up. I was like the loudest talkative person. I asked all the questions. I volunteered all the time to do expressive art therapy things, whether it was psychodrama or art therapy or whatever we were working on. I was front and center. I was always ready to go. Even now, I find myself sitting in the front row whenever I go somewhere to learn, most of the time. And I found my creative voice. I used to play piano for hours, I by ear, guitar. I used to sing, as I said earlier. I used to write a lot. And that was my expression. That was my safe haven and modality at the time. I found my speaker's voice in working in groups, small groups and larger groups, as a psychotherapist. I'm an expressive arts therapist. I found myself really enjoying being a facilitator for other people's growth, and not really conscious that I was like now. I'm not really thinking that I'm speaking and it's just about me. I'm here because I want to serve other people. So I'm a conduit, and I'm happy to do it as long as it works, as long as I'm helpful to you. So I also did comedy improv in Boston, which was really fun. If you ever have an opportunity, do it. It is the one place I found that people were laughing a lot during the graduate school period. And I would speak and people would crack up, and I thought, are they laughing at me? No, they're not. They're laughing with me, yay. And what was interesting is in the class, again, I was the most outrageous member of this class. And I didn't hold back, and it was very freeing. And I kept saying, I feel like a gay man, I'm coming out. And they're like, what? Because it gave me the chance to really step outside of my comfort zone and just be, and not be concerned about other people's, I see heads nodding, other people's judgment of me. Who cares? I'm just going to be me. Sweet or not, I'm just going to be me. So, interestingly enough, at around that time, my mom said something to me that really surprised me, shocked me more so. And I'm the youngest of 3 girls, and I remember my mother saying, well, I'm done parenting you and your sisters. I was kind of crushed. I didn't understand. How could she say such a thing? To me, in my mind's eye, in my heart, family life is forever. She was talking about the developmental part. She was talking about raising, which there is a finite time. However, it's never too late, by the way, for all you parents here and all you adult children here to find peace within yourself and also within the relationship with your parent, whether they're living or dead. So that seed got planted, and I kept it, and I held it. An event later on happened in 2007 that changed my life forever. And during this event, I realized, even though I had a private practice as a psychotherapist, I was a mom of 2 amazing kids. They're now almost 24 and 17. And I realized that I hadn't really used my life as fully as I'm supposed to. That there's more that I have to give to the world. And I'm not afraid. I'm doing it. And after this event, I realized it's a book. And apparently it's a series of books, but we have one starting with one. And I consulted a friend who's a very prolific writer, and we met and came up with 6 potential topics for this first book. And we narrowed them down, and it was very evident that the most logical one was a parenting book. I was already working with families, working with parents, working with individuals, kids of all ages, so it made sense. And then when the time came to title the book, which was interesting, I took that seed out of my pocket and I named the book Parenting for Life. And the subtitle is Consciously Creating Your Lifetime Relationship with Your Child. And ever since this occurred, it isn't only that I feel connected to my purpose in a grander world wide way. I feel much more intentional, much more sure of myself, much more purposeful, and much more aware than I've ever been ever. And my psychic abilities also started to bloom like big time in many ways. So we all know that the relation, or let me ask you, do you realize that the relationship that you have with your parents, specifically mother, but also parents, is one of the most significant relationships of your entire life? You guys know that, right? Right. And what happens, what's really interesting about it, is that based on those dynamics and those feelings and how you felt, what messages you received and how that made you feel, you will replicate that through your life. Unless and until you look at it and shift it, like we shifted how you stood with standing up tall inside yourself. So it takes conscious effort, and in my opinion, work, to acknowledge that. And that's is that a hallelujah with the straw? Or? It's fine. So, this is very significant, and it's important that everyone knows that, all of us as human beings, as well as parents, do the best we can with the skills we have at the time. I mean, that's who we are. We're not born, we're perfect, and yet we're imperfect, and that's okay. And it's important to acknowledge that. And I don't think it's ever really too late, as I said a moment ago, to come to some kind of peace internally. The other thing I wanted to share is this book relates to the beginning of your time together until the end of your time together with your child. It's also for all of us in here who are adult children, so that we can look back and see, gee, where did our parents have skills and tools, and where did they not? How can I find a place in my heart to forgive them and to heal that lack if you weren't raised in the most functional home? I'm just curious, if you don't mind, who here feels they were raised in a functional family? How many hands are up? Let's see. One.
No.
Oh, no? Sorry.
It's that, every family functions in some way, though.
Yeah, most families...
Semi.
Right, there's aspects, and sometimes it's about the personality of the children and the parents. Sometimes it's about the skill level. Oftentimes it's the skill level that the parents have, the support network that they have. Sometimes it's the lack of knowledge about child development, which I also touch on, because sometimes parents expect more or less of their children than their children need. So, sometimes parents have their own issues that are unresolved, and they need to become accountable for them and, find healing in themselves so that they're not passing that on to their children. And hopefully most people have children because they want them. I don't know that that's across the board either. It would be good if it is. So I'm going to read a passage from my book, I decided. So here we go. As long as I can keep this on. This is what the book looks like. And the door with the path is significant because there's a key in it. There's a key on the side, and at the end of every chapter, there's homework. And the reason, as a clinician and a life coach, that I have the key is because guess what? We have to do the work, guys. We want to work on ourselves. We want to accept ourselves. We want to allow ourselves to be as functional as we can be in the world. Sometimes we have to work at it, and that's okay, right? Okay. So here we go. So I do hold parents accountable in this book, and I think that many parenting books don't go there as far as the relationship between parents and children, and I think it's such an important missing piece. So here we go. The subtitle is called Be Honest with Yourself, Pay Attention to What You Truly Need. Once you lift the veil of self-deceit, you more easily identify what you need. While learning to meet your personal and interpersonal requirements and take care of yourself, ask for what you need and set limits with the people in your life. By doing this, you empower yourself by taking control of the one person you have the power to change, you. Set this example for your child. Learn where others end and where you begin. Teach others how to treat you because what you allow, you condone. Since you love yourself, do not tolerate mistreatment or neglect from someone else or from yourself. Take space to do what calms you, empowers you, and regenerates your mind, body, and spirit. Be willing to give yourself what you need in your self-care, personal, educational, and work life. Choose to surround yourself with the people and things that nurture you. You are entitled to protect your sense of inner balance, harmony, physical and emotional safety. It is your right. By doing this, you teach your child about practicing and developing healthy self-love. Acknowledge your inner child, the once small child who still resides in you and needs your care. You may need to reparent that part of yourself with tender, loving attention. Because you have more love for your inner child, you have more love to give to the child you are raising and relating to now. Make your world your sanctuary. Remind yourself and get back to it as a daily and lifetime goal. Feed the garden of your life with all that makes you shine and glow. And I just want parents and adult children to take good care of themselves in the course of raising children because it's challenging. How many parents are here, by the way? Okay, so like 60% or something, 65. And how many people have adult children here? Well, half and half. I have both. Okay, so a little less. How many people here have worked on yourself in relationship to your family of origin? 100%, almost. How many people have worked on yourself as a result of being in your family of origin? There you go. Okay, cool. And that's great. That gives you the proof, the feedback that you're doing your work. I'm proud of you guys. That's good. So another thing that I have discovered in this course of the event that happened to me and this writing of this first book is I am becoming acutely aware that I'm becoming more of who I am. I mean, look, if we accept all of our voice, whatever those aspects are, then that means you're more fully you, right? You're not repressing or suppressing or hiding or denying. You're in it. You're stepping into it. So I feel that as I'm stepping more into who I am, part of my job now on earth is to help others do the same. So, what does it take, do you think, to honor, express, and acknowledge your voice as you continue to grow? So let's throw out a couple of ideas, and feel free popcorn style to shout it out. So I'm going to throw out therapy. How else would somebody work on discovering and developing their voice? Life coaching. Anybody else?
Meditation.
Meditation.
using the opportunities that show up.
There you go. Being in the moment. Very good. I like that. Classes. Taking classes.
Books.
Books. Trying something new. That's kind of similar to what you said. What were you saying?
Conversations.
Conversations. Nice.
Self-affirmative thoughts, similar to the conversation.
Nice. Self-affirmative thoughts. Very nice. And affirmations, too.
Affirmation.
Nice.
Finding our guides. People,
Nice.
Yeah, at different points of life.
Human guides or angelic or both?
No.
Human.
Praying to be shown how to
Support
grow.
groups.
Support groups. Good one. When
Praying to be shown how to grow.
praying to be shown how to grow. Okay, cool.
Really listening to your inner voice, to that wisdom.
Intuition?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. And knowing? Kind of a knowing?
listening to that, allowing that to guide you
Nice.
to grow.
That's really self-respect. Anybody else?
Gratitude work.
Gratitude work, yes. So you're focused in on what's working to bring more of that, right?
Learning to tell the truth.
You mean to yourself, strictly, or?
Yourself or speak it. In a respectful way.
That takes courage. Anyone else?
Divination.
Divination. Very good. So, what role or roles do you cast yourself in your life? Just take a moment and think about that. And how do you let people know you? So we can be known in a myriad of ways. We can be known in our physical presence. Someone kind earlier said that I will illuminate just by being up here. Thank you. And so that's just hanging out. That's just, being who you are and letting that shine through. How else, what other ways do we have to let people know us, really know us?
Service.
Service. That's an outer expression, and it's an important outer expression. How about the inner?
Sharing your feelings and your thoughts with the people that you care about.
So feeling safe enough to share your feelings and your thoughts. Right. Anything else? Anybody else?
Opening your heart to where you allow your light to shine.
Nice.
Being vulnerable, allowing yourself to be vulnerable. Feel safe with others.
Right. How about emoting? How about showing emotion? That allows people to get to know us. Did you have something?
I was just going to say being present.
Mm.
Really being present.
Right. Especially if you're a caregiver or a healer. What other ways do we allow people to know us? I'll say in my case, writing my book, because I put a lot of myself into the book as a mom as well as a therapist. So some of the beliefs that are in this book mirror that, because what I did with my children and still do and with my clients worked. So I incorporated it into the program, like the practice of yoga and the practice of meditation. I call it the practice of lifetime parenting. It's a practice. That's where the consciousness piece comes from. Pardon me? Oh, yes, please. Thank you.
Giving myself permission to be my authentic, uncensored self.
Nice. That's a biggie. That's reparenting yourself right there.
Yeah, I wanted to add too, not that it's not always positive. I mean, there are people that just like push themselves right up in your face and like try to force you to recognize who they are. It's not always positive. A lot of people are not positive.
Yeah. Some people you can't avoid to know at least that aspect of them. Sometimes what people show us isn't really the tender, pained area or all of what's authentic. It's part of it. It's the expression, or it's the pain that we see sometimes. And it's confusing because we think it's the person, but it's really their pain. I'm just saying. That's a good analogy. Anyone else? Okay. So I want to give you a couple of ideas around how you can discover and develop your voice. I have a program called Learn to Live Inspired, and it's an acronym, and every letter stands for something, so I will share this with you now. So live. L is to live consciously. I is to incorporate life lessons. V is to visualize your future. E is to empower yourself. Inspired. I is to imitate healthy role models. N is to notice what happens. And you guys have picked up on some of this. S is to speak with truth and respect. P is to pick positive thoughts. I is to integrate tools for growth. R is to return to love. E is to evolve. And D is to dance to your own rhythm. So some examples for some of you guys here today around how to discover and develop your voice may show up in different places. It might be that you need to tell your boss that you rock at your job and you want that promotion and you want that raise and you deserve it. It could be expressing wants and needs in a relationship, that you are discovering and developing that ability when you're in a relationship, a friendship or a love relationship or parent-child relationship, that you need to tell the person something and you're not going to hold back anymore. It could be, for some parents, utilizing positive discipline or setting healthy limits with children. Parents sometimes have issues with those. Could be to explore and try something new that you've never tried. Comedy improv, do it. It could be for some of you, if you're in an unhappy or abusive relationship, that you need to ask for help and reveal your pain to save people and get out of the relationship. Only you know what you need to discover and develop your voice. No one can tell you but you. So what I want to say to you now is I encourage you to do that and start today. Thank you so much.